What does it mean to be a real alpha male? Is it about dominance, ego, controlling others? No, the world has lied to you. A true alpha male is not the loudest in the room. He's the one who commands respect without saying a word. He doesn't chase women, he attracts a woman of virtue, a woman who reflects the divine, a wife who understands the sacredness of creation itself. Let me tell you something the world doesn't want you to know. Most of what you've been sold about being an alpha male is a lie. A cheap, watered-down, ego-driven fantasy designed to keep men weak, distracted, and chasing the wrong things. You've seen it, haven't you? The loudest guy in the room, flexing his money, barking orders, treating women like trophies. Thinking dominance is the same as strength. But let me ask you this. When was the last time a truly powerful man needed to scream to be heard? When was the last time a king lowered himself to prove his worth? A real alpha male isn't the one causing chaos. He's the one who calms it. He doesn't demand respect, he commands it, not through fear, but through presence. You feel him when he walks into a room, not because he's making noise, but because he carries something deeper, a quiet certainty. A man who knows who he is doesn't need to announce it. But society loves to sell you a counterfeit version of masculinity. It tells you that sleeping with endless women makes you powerful, that aggression equals authority, that controlling others is leadership. Let me break this down for you. None of that is strength. That's insecurity dressed up as confidence. A man who needs to conquer women to feel like a man is a man who hasn't conquered himself. And until you do that, you will never attract a woman of real value, because high-value women don't fall for performance. They recognize truth. Think about it. A lion doesn't roar to prove he's the king. He doesn't chase the pride. The pride follows him. Why? Because he's earned his place. He protects, he provides, he moves with intention. That's the difference between real power and the illusion of it. One is rooted in purpose, the other is rooted in ego. And ego is the weakest man's idea of strength. So what does a true alpha look like? He's disciplined. He doesn't waste time on distractions because his time is valuable. He doesn't seek validation because his mission is his validation. He doesn't lower his standards, he raises them. And because of that, he doesn't chase women, he attracts them. Not through games, not through manipulation, but by being a man worth following, a woman of substance, a wife, a true partner. Doesn't want a man who's still fighting for his own self-worth. She wants a man who's already won that battle. She wants a man who leads, not because he's demanding it, but because he's built for it. A man who understands that real strength isn't in the flex, it's in the foundation. So ask yourself right now, are you buying into the myth, or are you ready to step into the reality? Because the world has enough fake alphas. What it needs are real men. The first step to becoming alpha? Stop pretending. And stop it. Let me hit you with a hard truth. Most men are lost because they've confused pleasure for purpose. They're chasing the next high, the next thrill, the next temporary fix that makes them feel powerful for 5 seconds before the emptiness creeps back in. And that's not living, that's surviving. That's being a slave to your impulses instead of the master of your destiny. A real man, a true alpha, doesn't live for cheap dopamine hits. He doesn't measure his worth by how many women he can attract or how many followers validate him. He measures it by the weight of his mission. Because here's what no one tells you. Pleasure fades, but purpose sustains you. Purpose rebuilds you when the world tries to break you. Purpose is the fire that keeps you going when everyone else has burned out. Look around, the modern man is drowning in distractions, endless scrolling, empty hookups, chasing clout instead of character. And then he wonders why he feels hollow, why the women he attracts don't respect him, why his life feels like it's missing something he can't name. I'll name it for you. It's called meaning. A man without purpose is a ship without a rudder. He drifts, he gets tossed by every wave, and sooner or later he crashes. But the man who knows why he wakes up in the morning, that man is unstoppable. He doesn't need external validation because his validation comes from within. He doesn't chase women because he's too busy building something greater than himself. And that, my friend, is what actually attracts a high-value woman. A woman of substance doesn't want a man who's easily distracted. She wants a man who's focused. who's driven, who looks at the world and says, I was put here for more than this. Think about the men who changed history, the warriors, the innovators, the leaders. Were they out here chasing cheap thrills? No. They had a vision. They had a why that was bigger than their want. And that's the difference between a boy and a man. A boy lives for the moment, a man lives for the legacy. So ask yourself right now, what's your purpose? And if you don't have one, that's your first problem, because until you find it, you'll keep filling that void with things that don't last, with women who don't stay, with achievements that don't satisfy. A real alpha doesn't run from the hard question of what am I here for? He confronts it, he wrestles with it. And when he finds the answer, he commits to it with everything he has. That's the man who attracts a wife worth having, not because he's perfect, but because he's aligned. Because when a woman sees a man who knows where he's going, she doesn't just want to follow, she wants to build with him. Let me tell you about the greatest weapon a man can possess. And no, it's not muscles, money, or status. It's something far more powerful, yet most men spend their entire lives running from it. I'm talking about emotional mastery. The ability to hold steady when storms rage around you, the discipline to respond instead of react, the strength to feel deeply without being controlled by those feelings. Look around at society today. What do you see? Boys masquerading as men, slaves to their impulses. One minute they're flying high, the next they're crushed by defeat. Their mood swings dictate their entire lives. One harsh word from their boss and they're ready to quit. One rejection from a woman and they're drowning in self-pity. This isn't masculinity. This is emotional adolescence. And it's why so many men today are utterly incapable of leading anything, least of all a meaningful relationship. A true alpha understands something fundamental. Emotions are signals, not commands. They're information, not identity. When anger rises, he doesn't lash out. He listens to what that anger is telling him about his boundaries. When fear whispers, he doesn't freeze. He uses it to sharpen his awareness. This is the difference between emotional intelligence and emotional weakness. One makes you captain of your ship, the other leaves you adrift at the mercy of every passing wave. Think about the women you admire most, the high-value women, the ones with depth and dignity. What do they truly crave in a man? It's not the guy who blows up when challenged or crumbles when tested. It's the man whose inner foundation is unshakable. The man who can hold space for her emotions without being overwhelmed by his own. That's real strength. That's what makes a woman feel safe, seen, and truly cherished. But here's where most men fail catastrophically. They confuse suppression with control. They think being stoic means deadening themselves to feeling anything at all. That's not mastery. That's emotional illiteracy. A real man doesn't numb himself to life. He develops the capacity to experience it fully without being destroyed by it. He can sit with discomfort without needing to escape it. He can handle intensity without being intimidated by it. This is where true confidence is born, not from never feeling fear, but from knowing you can move forward despite it. Not from never getting angry, but from channeling that fire productively. This emotional alchemy is what separates the men from the boys, because any fool can be brave when he feels like it, but only a real man can stand firm when every fiber of his being wants to run. And here's the secret they don't tell you. This emotional command is what creates magnetic attraction. When a woman sees a man who isn't jerked around by every passing feeling, who can hold his center no matter what life throws at him, that's irresistible. That's the kind of man she can imagine building a life with, because she knows when storms come, and they always come, he won't fold. He won't abandon her to weather them alone. So how do you develop this? It starts with awareness. Notice your emotional patterns without judgment. Then, with practice, deliberate daily practice in pausing between stimulus and response, it's in that space that your power lifts. And it grows through tests, because emotional muscle, like physical muscle, only strengthens under resistance. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming the master of your emotions rather than letting them master you. It's about developing the kind of inner fortitude that makes everything else in your life, your relationships, your career, your peace of mind, fall into place. Control your emotions or they will control you, and every important thing in your life depends on this battle. Let me shatter an illusion for you right now. The greatest lie modern men believe about relationships is that attraction is something you chase. You don't chase what you're meant to lead. Think about that. The ocean doesn't beg the river to flow into it. The pull is natural. The sun doesn't negotiate with flowers to turn toward its light. The response is instinctive. This is the fundamental truth about masculine energy in relationships that most men have forgotten. A real leader in love doesn't perform tricks like a circus animal to earn affection. He doesn't mold himself into what he thinks women want. He stands firm in who he is and lets attraction work as nature intended, through presence, not pursuit. This is why the dating landscape today is filled with frustrated men exhausting themselves trying to win women's attention, while the few who understand true leadership attract without effort. But understand this clearly, leadership isn't control. It's not about dictating or dominating. That's insecurity wearing a costume of strength. True leadership in relationships means creating an environment where a woman can fully flourish. It's about the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth isn't determined by her reactions. The man who needs constant reassurance of his value has already demonstrated he has none to offer. Consider how nature works. The strongest trees don't chase the vines that grow around them. They simply stand tall, rooted deeply, and the vines naturally ascend toward the light they provide. This is the metaphor for how masculine leadership functions at its highest level. Your job isn't to convince, cajole, or capture. It's to become so solid in your purpose that the right woman recognizes you as her natural complement. This changes everything about how you approach relationships. Most men operate from scarcity. Now, how do I get her? How do I keep her? The leader operates from abundance. Is she worthy of what I bring? This subtle shift in perspective transforms every interaction. Suddenly, you're not negotiating from neediness, but evaluating from wholeness. And women, especially high-value women, can sense this difference at an instinctual level. The tragedy is that modern culture has emasculated men into believing leadership is toxic, that setting standards is oppressive, that having boundaries is controlling. Nothing could be further from the truth. The women you most admire don't want a passive yes man. They crave a man who knows where he's going and invites her to join him on the journey, not as a follower, but as a partner to his vision. This is why your personal development can't be separated from your relationship success. You can't lead someone further than you've gone yourself. If your life lacks direction, how can she trust your leadership? If your emotions are chaotic, how can she feel safe in your care? If your purpose is unclear, what exactly are you inviting her to build with you? Real leadership starts long before you meet her. It's in the daily discipline of becoming a man worthy of following. It's in the integrity to do what's right even when no one's watching. It's in the courage to walk away from what doesn't serve your highest self. These are the qualities that create genuine attraction, not pick-up lines or manipulation tactics. And here's what's beautiful. When you operate from this place of centered leadership, you liberate women from the burden of being your emotional compass. Too many men today expect women to be their therapists, their motivators, their purpose. That's not love, that's emotional outsourcing. A leader takes full responsibility for his own wholeness first. This is the paradox few understand. The less you need from her, the more she'll want to give. Not because you've manipulated her, but because you've created the space where her gifts can naturally shine, where her femininity can flourish, because your masculinity provides the secure container for it to do so. So ask yourself today, are you leading in your relationships or begging? Are you standing firm in your worth or negotiating it away? Are you becoming the kind of man women are drawn to, not because of what you do for them, but because of who you are at your core? Listen closely, because this is where most men miss the mark entirely. You want a woman of virtue, a wife who carries life, a partner who elevates your life. But have you asked yourself the most important question? Are you the man she's been praying for? Let that sink in. Because here's the hard truth. High-value women don't stumble into relationships by accident. They don't settle for just any man. They wait, they discern, they pray for the one who's worthy of what they bring to the table. And if you're not that man, no amount of game, no fancy car, no hollow confidence will make her choose you, not truly, not in the way that lasts. So what does it mean to become the man she prays for? It starts with understanding that attraction isn't just physical. It's spiritual, it's energetic. A woman of depth doesn't just fall for your looks or your money. She falls for the essence of who you are, your character, your integrity, your ability to lead not just her, but yourself first. Think about the kind of woman you truly desire. Is she loyal? Is she wise? Does she carry herself with grace, with strength, with an unshakable sense of purpose? If that's what you want, then you must ask yourself, does your life reflect those same qualities? Because like attracts like, always. You can't expect to attract a queen if you're still operating with the mindset of a peasant. Most men get this backward. They think once I get her, then I'll become better. No, that's the mentality of a boy. A real man doesn't wait for external motivation to level up. He does it because he knows his future depends on it. He builds himself in advance, knowing that when she arrives, he'll already be the man who deserves her. This is why self-mastery isn't optional. It's the foundation. You want a woman who prays, then you better be a man who prays too, not just with words, but with action. A man who honors his word, a man who protects what's sacred, a man who doesn't just talk about respect, but embodies it in how he treats her, how he speaks of women, how he carries himself when no one's watching. And let's be real, most men today aren't even close to this standard. They're distracted, they're addicted to validation. They're so busy chasing temporary highs that they've forgotten what it means to build something eternal. But the man who understands his worth doesn't play those games. He's too busy sharpening his mind, strengthening his spirit, and building a life that's worthy of a legacy. Because here's the secret, women like that, the ones who move in silence, who carry wisdom, who understand their value, they can smell desperation from a mile away. They can sense when a man is rooted in purpose versus when he's just looking for someone to fill his emptiness, and they will walk right past the latter every single time. So how do you become the man she prays for? You start by becoming the man you would pray for if you were her. You cultivate discipline, not just in the gym, but in your thoughts, in your habits, in how you spend your time. You heal your past instead of letting it dictate your future. You lead with honesty, not manipulation. You become a safe place for her heart, not another wound she has to recover from. This isn't about perfection, it's about direction. She doesn't need you to have it all figured out, but she does need to see that you're committed to the journey, that you're growing, that you're someone she can trust, not just with her love, but with her future, her family, her peace. So I'll ask you again, are you the man she's been praying for? Or are you just hoping she'll lower her standards to meet you where you are? Because the choice is yours, the work is yours, the reward, a love that elevates, a partnership that lasts, a legacy that matters, that's yours too, but only if you become the man who's ready for it. Conclusion? So here's the truth. Being an alpha male was never about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself. It's about looking in the mirror and asking, am I the man the woman I desire would pray for? Because let me tell you, high-value women don't chase, they choose, and they will only choose the man who has already chosen himself. You want to attract a wife of strength, of faith, of unshakable virtue? Then stop chasing, start becoming. Become the man who doesn't need validation because his purpose is his validation. The man who doesn't fear solitude because his own company is power. The man who leads not with his ego but with his integrity. That man doesn't beg for love. He commands it by default. Now, this is where most men fail. They hear this, they feel the fire, and then they go back to their old habits. They let distractions win. They settle for less than they deserve. Don't be that man. The world has enough boys pretending to be strong. What it needs are real men willing to do the work. So here's your challenge. Right now, decide, are you going to stay stuck in the same cycle, or are you going to rise? Are you going to keep lowering your standards, or are you going to build yourself into the man who attracts a queen without even trying? Hit follow now, because this is just the beginning. Real transformation starts when you do. And if you're ready to step into your true power, I'll be here to show you how.